A new chapter in global trade has begun, not on the seas but on steel rails stretching across continents. In a world where shipping lanes have long dominated the movement of goods, a bold new route is emerging, one that cuts through the very heart of Asia and connects distant economies in ways never seen before. This is the story of a railway that traverses deserts, mountains, and vast steppes, forging a direct land bridge between east and west. The first direct freight train from China has arrived in Iran, opening a new railway corridor that promises to reshape economic and political alliances. This historic journey is more than just a logistical achievement, it's a symbol of shifting power and ambition across Eurasia. Laden with Chinese goods, the train traveled over 10,000 kilometers from Xi'an to Tehran, marking a milestone in the $400 billion China-Iran partnership. Each container carries not just products, but the hopes of two nations seeking new opportunities and greater independence from traditional trade routes. This railway is a tangible result of China's Belt and Road Initiative, reviving the Silk Road for the 21st century and forging a direct link between China and Iran. It's a modern echo of ancient caravans, now replaced by powerful locomotives and endless lines of freight cars. For Iran, it's a lifeline to global markets, a chance to bypass sanctions and isolation, and to reconnect with trading partners across Asia and beyond. For China, it's a strategic route to energy security and deeper influence in the Middle East, allowing faster, more reliable access to vital resources and new markets. The Iron Dragon's arrival signals that the future of global trade may belong as much to railways as to container ships, redrawing the map of commerce across Eurasia. As steel wheels roll into Tehran, a new era of connection, competition, and cooperation begins, one that could transform the fortunes of nations and the lives of millions along its path. The China-Iran Railway carves a new path across the heart of Eurasia, bypassing the traditional sea lanes that have long defined global trade routes. These maritime corridors, stretching from the South China Sea to the Persian Gulf, are heavily monitored by the US and its allies, who maintain a constant presence to safeguard their interests and project power. For decades, vital flows of oil and goods have been funneled through chokepoints like the Malacca Strait and the Suez Canal, narrow congested arteries that are not only vulnerable to disruption, but also sit under the watchful eyes of Western navies. Now, with the rise of this overland railway, goods and oil can travel across vast stretches of land, shielded from maritime surveillance, blockades, and interference that have historically threatened supply chains. This land route is China's strategic answer to the so-called Malacca dilemma, the fear that its energy lifeline could be cut off at sea. By shifting trade to rail, China reduces its reliance on risky maritime passages and fortifies its energy security for the future. For Iran, the railway represents a revolutionary shift. Trade can now move more freely, sidestepping the bottlenecks and vulnerabilities of sea routes and undermining the effectiveness of US sanctions and economic pressure. The railway is more than just a logistical achievement, it's a bold geopolitical maneuver. By forging this link, China and Iran are empowering themselves to operate outside the Western-dominated order, building new alliances and economic opportunities. By moving trade onto land, both nations gain a new level of strategic autonomy, reducing their exposure to American leverage and the threat of naval blockades. This steel ribbon stretching across continents is more than infrastructure. It's a powerful statement of defiance, independence, and a vision for a new era of connectivity. The China-Iran Railway isn't just strategic, it's fast. The overland route cuts delivery times from 30-40 days by sea to just 14-15 days by rail. This speed transforms trade, making it possible to move time-sensitive goods, electronics, and refined products quickly and reliably. Faster transit means lower costs, less inventory risk, and more responsive supply chains for both countries. Iranian businesses can access Chinese goods swiftly, while China receives Iranian exports with greater predictability. The railway encourages more frequent, diversified trade, spurring new industries and deeper economic ties. For China, it's a more resilient supply chain. For Iran, it's a stable revenue stream and a stronger position in energy markets. The Iron Dragon accelerates not just goods, but the pace of integration between two rising powers. The railway's opening was a geopolitical earthquake. In June 2025, US and Israeli airstrikes targeted Iranian infrastructure, aiming to cripple the new rail link and send a warning to those challenging Western influence. Iran responded by voting to close the Strait of Hormuz, a threat that now carried real weight, thanks to the railway's secure export route. This escalation pushed the region to the brink, with global energy markets on edge. The railway, meant as a bridge for commerce, became a flashpoint for military confrontation. Infrastructure projects like this are now battlegrounds in the struggle for power in the Middle East. The Iron Dragon gave Iran not just an economic shield, but a new strategic sword. For decades, U.S. sanctions have sought to isolate Iran from the global economy, restricting its access to international markets and financial systems. But now, the China-Iran Railway stands as a powerful countermeasure, offering Iran a new economic lifeline and a way to break through the barriers imposed by the West. This rail link does more than just move goods. It bypasses Western-controlled financial and logistical systems entirely. By enabling trade in local currencies, it allows Iran and China to sidestep the US dollar and avoid networks like SWIFT, which are dominated by American interests. This means that even as sanctions tighten, commerce can continue, largely uninterrupted. The railway's overland route means goods no longer depend on vulnerable maritime shipping lanes or Western insurance companies. Instead, a closed loop of trade is created, one that is largely immune to American interference and less susceptible to sudden disruptions. This newfound economic resilience gives Iran a stronger hand at the negotiating table. It blunts the impact of sanctions, allowing the country to weather economic storms and maintain stability even under pressure. With China as a reliable and committed partner, Iran can resist diplomatic pressure from the West and maintain a firmer stance in international talks. The partnership signals to the world that Iran is not as isolated as its adversaries might hope. The U.S. has responded with new rounds of sanctions, but targeting a massive state-backed project like the Belt and Road Initiative is a losing battle. The sheer scale and international backing of the railway make it difficult to disrupt. The physical reality of the railway, spanning thousands of kilometers and connecting entire regions, makes sanctions less effective than ever before. It marks a turning point in the ongoing struggle of economic warfare, shifting the balance in Iran's favor. The Iron Dragon, as the railway is sometimes called, now serves as Iran's shield against isolation, offering hope for a more independent and resilient future. As maritime routes grow more dangerous, the China-Iran Railway offers security and predictability. Attacks on shipping in the Red Sea and other choke points have caused chaos, forcing longer, costlier detours. The overland rail route, protected from piracy and conflict, is a compelling alternative for businesses seeking reliability. The U.S. Navy can't monitor or interdict this land corridor, giving China and Iran full control over their supply chains. For high-value goods, the assurance of safe, timely delivery outweighs the higher cost of rail. As maritime threats persist, more companies may turn to land-based routes, fundamentally altering global logistics. The Iron Dragon is an insurance policy against the volatility of the world's oceans. The China-Iran Railway is a wake-up call for India and its ambitions in Central Asia. India's Chabahar port project, meant to bypass Pakistan and connect to Afghanistan, has lagged behind due to delays and U.S. sanctions. China's rapid completion of its rail link has left India playing catch-up, with its own corridor still years from completion. The Chinese-led network could form a golden ring, linking China, Pakistan, Iran, Russia, and Turkey, marginalizing India's influence. India now faces a stark choice: accelerate its projects or risk being sidelined in the new Eurasian Great Game. The competition between these corridors is a microcosm of the broader China-India rivalry. Infrastructure is now a key source of geopolitical power, and China is pulling ahead. The Iron Dragon's whistle is a signal that India can no longer afford to delay. The China-Iran Railway is more than a trade route. It's a blueprint for a new world order. This steel artery is part of a growing web of overland corridors connecting China to Central Asia, the Middle East, and beyond. These projects bind regional economies to Beijing, shifting the center of global gravity eastward and reducing dependence on the West. By empowering countries like Iran to resist Western pressure, China is reshaping alliances and challenging the post-Cold War order. Infrastructure has become a front line in the contest for global influence. As the network expands toward Turkey and Europe, it could revolutionize trade, offering a faster, more secure alternative to the Suez Canal. The Iron Dragon is forging new dependencies, rivalries, and a future where steel and ambition redraw the map of global power.